Oceans provide habitats for fish, marine mammals, and invertebrates such as mussels, oysters, and shrimp. It is no surprise that humans benefit from these habitats in a variety of ways. Because it is widely recognized that ecosystems provide resources and functions that we value, and because we value these benefits, we recognize that ecosystems provide a service to people. Hence the term ecosystem services, referring to the benefits that ecosystems provide to humans. These habitats support growth, reproduction, and biodiversity of marine life, associated food production through commercial fishing, and human use activities such as recreational fishing and diving, as well as social and cultural benefits, to name a few. Offshore oil and gas structures come in a variety of shapes and sizes, and are used to support the extraction of oil and gas. Once a platform, consisting of the jacket and topside and associated seabed facilities is installed, regulatory agencies, working with offshore oil and gas operators, implement exclusion zones around these structures. The exclusion zone prohibits non-authorized vessels, helps to protect the oil and gas facilities, the health and safety of commercial users, and the seabed. For example, 500-meter exclusion zones in the North Sea are in effect through the life of the infrastructure and deter commercial activities like shipping and trawling from occurring within certain distances of the infrastructure. Marine communities and habitats within the exclusion zone have been afforded protection from trawl fishing disturbance for decades, acting as marine protected areas. The habitats within exclusion zones have evolved over time. The hard substrate provided by the jacket and associated seabed facilities attracts colonizing invertebrates that in turn attract fish, marine mammals, reptiles, and other marine life, creating a functioning ecological community. In most cases, mollusks and other species that colonize the upper levels of the jacket fall to the seabed after they die, which combine with the deposited sediments to develop a hard calcium shell hash layer on top of the sediments under the jacket. The shell hash layer creates additional hard structure for colonizing organisms. As the jacket and shell hash habitat matures, it promotes the deposition of organic matter around the jacket. The increased input of organic matter to the seabed community, as well as protection from bottom trawling, creates a productive halo effect area surrounding the jacket that can be much larger than the jacket footprint itself. The combination of hard structure associated with a jacket, shell hash layer, and halo effect area creates a habitat that has been shown to be significantly more productive when compared to surrounding soft bottom habitats. There is growing evidence that subsea infrastructure not only attracts fish, but also operates as a center of fish production, whereby new biomass is being generated at the site, and fish population densities are enhanced by the presence of subsea infrastructure. As an example, secondary fish production associated with oil and gas platform jackets off the coast of California have been shown to be 18 to 150 times that of California's soft bottom habitat, and as well have greater productivity when compared to natural reefs across the world. Thus, aside from protecting marine life and seabed habitats, subsea infrastructure within the exclusion zone is providing both fish stock protection and replenishment. Not only are marine communities thriving around these subsea structures, developing science indicates that marine communities interconnect between multiple subsea structures. In the North Sea and Australia, it has been demonstrated that marine mammals, including protected species such as the harbor porpoise, use subsea oil and gas infrastructure as feeding grounds, with both daily and seasonal patterns. The protection and productivity of these structures are therefore benefiting significant species such as dolphins, whales, sea turtles, seals, and others. Net environmental benefit analysis studies in the North Sea, Australia, Gulf of Mexico, and Southeast Asia lead us to conclude that the increased productivity associated with these subsea structures is not just limited to California, but to subsea structure worldwide, creating benefits in the face of decreasing natural reef habitat and increased commercial fishing pressures. Offshore oil platform jackets are projected to last for hundreds to over 1,000 years. These habitats not only provide benefits to us today, but can provide these benefits for many generations to come. How should we decommission these structures after they reach the end of their production life? A study designed to evaluate potential decommissioning options for subsea infrastructure is termed a comparative assessment. Comparative assessment studies, to date, generally consider environmental, health and safety, technical, financial, and societal factors associated with decommissioning options. Comparative assessments incorporate preference ranking schemes that focus on risks. However, they do not fully consider the ecosystem service benefits that the infrastructure provides today and can provide for decades and centuries into the future. Understanding the scientific weight of evidence regarding the ecosystem services provided by the presence of subsea infrastructure, declines in natural reef areas, and climate adaptation considerations, it is imperative to understand and consider the benefits associated with these developed ecosystems and the potential impact, positive and negative, that decommissioning options can have on these ecosystem services. To understand the potential ramifications to ecosystem service benefits associated with implementation of various decommissioning options, we introduce here a net environmental benefit analysis-based comparative assessment, hereafter referred to as a NEBA-based comparative assessment, or NEBA-CA. The goal of a NEBA-CA is to maximize the ecosystem service benefits to the public while managing site risks. A NEBA-based comparative assessment not only considers environmental, health and safety, technical, financial, and societal factors like standard comparative assessment processes, but crucially includes consideration of the ecosystem service benefits and the flow of these benefits over time to current and future generations. A NEBA-CA primarily incorporates a variety of quantified ecosystem service benefit and risk metrics to estimate how various decommissioning options may affect human health and the environment to inform decision-making. The NEBA-CA is based on methods that are quantitative, scientifically defendable, transparent, objective, and litigation-tested, and focuses on a variety of metrics and how these metrics change with the implementation of various actions. These include, but are not limited to, multiple metrics reflecting ecological habitat value, human uses of the sea, greenhouse gas emissions and other air pollutants, ecological and human health risks, navigation, trawling, and implementation health and safety risks, and technical removal risks. Additionally, option implementation costs are also evaluated. However, cost is considered as a secondary evaluation metric within a NEBA-CA, since the focus is on maximizing benefits to the public while managing site risks. Let's look at potential options for decommissioning and the trade-offs associated with these options from both a benefit and risk standpoint. It should be noted that, regardless of the decommissioning option selected, the topside portion is typically removed and transported to shore to be reused or recycled. Prior to topside removal, the production wells are plugged with cement, and the pipes from the wells to the platform, as well as pipelines that carry oil and gas away to shore, are flushed of hydrocarbons to regulatory standards, then filled with seawater. Decommissioning options for the jacket, as well as other subsea facilities, can range from a full removal action to a protect-in-place option, with various partial removal options in between. The protect-in-place scenario is depicted here, with the exclusion zone remaining. Keeping the exclusion zone serves to protect and conserve the habitat while also mitigating risks to navigation and trawling as well as seabed disturbance. Since less decommissioning effort is required under this option, implementation risks, greenhouse gas emissions, and costs are lowest when compared to other options. Full removal of the jacket is also an option where the entire structure is cut, usually in multiple sections, below the mudline and taken to shore to be reused or recycled. This option eliminates navigation risk, trawling risk, and the need for an exclusion zone. However, it does so at the expense of the environment through adverse impacts to ecosystem service benefits related to hard structure habitat loss, associated fish stock protection, commercial fish stock abundance, and long-term preservation value of the ecosystem. This means that the ecological and human use benefits that are protected and provide value today and for hundreds of years into the future would be lost, thus affecting current and future generations. Additionally, due to the level of effort involved in full removal, implementation health and safety risks, greenhouse gas emissions, and costs are likely to be highest for a full removal option. Within the bounds of the protect-in-place and full removal options, there are a variety of partial removal options that can be considered. Partial removal options include actions where a designated section of a jacket or equipment component is removed and either transported to shore to be recycled, reefed near the jacket, or reefed at an alternate location. Additionally, there are different methods that can be employed for removing or reefing sections of the platform. For example, cutting and direct lifting versus toppling. It is important to note that maintaining the exclusion zone for protect-in-place and partial removal options manages navigation and trawling risks, provides fish stock protection for all fish at the site, including threatened and endangered species, and other protected fish, not just commercial and recreational fish, and reduces impacts to fish, sea turtles, and marine mammals associated with incidental trawling bycatch. A NEBA-based comparative assessment also provides flexibility in evaluating a range of potential options and allows for consideration of cutting depths, cutting methods, and cut section disposition, such as reefing or recycling. Based upon our NEBA-based comparative assessment case studies, decommissioning actions pose a plausible risk to ecosystem service benefits. Regulations, guidance, and decisions governing subsea infrastructure decommissioning should consider the potential for adverse near-term and long-term risks through adherence to the precautionary principle. That is, if an action or policy has suspected risk of causing harm to the public or environment, in the absence of scientific consensus, the burden of proof that it is not harmful falls on those taking the action. Do we have scientific consensus that there are no risks to the ecosystem and associated human uses of the sea with removal of hard structure? Complex, multifaceted decisions must address many questions and balance competing criteria to achieve the least overall harm outcome. Good-intentioned but narrow-focused decommissioning option evaluations have the potential to lead to unintended consequences. Since a decommissioning action must be taken, robust scientific analysis within comparative assessment underpins sound least overall harm option decisions. Comparative assessment methods differ, and while they may lead to the same conclusions, some situations may not. The NEBA-based comparative assessment specifically supplements, as described, a standard comparative assessment in 3 key ways, any of which may be crucial in identifying and recommending the least overall harm decommissioning action. First, the NEBA-based comparative assessment incorporates ecosystem service benefits and the flow of these benefits over time. Second, it is primarily quantitative and does not rely on ranking or weighting schemes that can introduce subjectivity and bias into the option selection process. And third, provides objectivity. That is, rather than having preference weights imposed by others, provides transparency to stakeholders on inputs to the comparative assessment. It should be noted that the starting point for discussion of decommissioning options is distinctly different when comparing a NEBA-based comparative assessment and a standard CA process. A NEBA CA for subsea structure is a site-by-site analysis, since overall ecosystem value can vary by structure and location. The question we must ask ourselves is, in the face of losses of natural hard reef habitat and increased commercial fishing pressures, will removal of subsea infrastructure adversely affect long-term fish stock protection and associated ecosystem service benefits for future generations?